I would say basically the major problem, according to your question, between the government and ECOMOG is a lot of misunderstanding and misinformation. And that has been the main crux of the issue. I say this because just about 2 weeks ago I returned from Cairo, Egypt, and I went to brief the president on my trip. My impression was I got from him was that he was a bit depressed and a bit downhearted, because his impression was that our fragile peace was being undermined by the peacekeepers. He got this impression because of misinformation and lack of information. Why do I say this? Is because it was clear. After I looked at the situation and saw how grave he looked at it, I was of the impression that any attempt on the part of the government, a duly elected government, to meet this with any kind of force would create chaos and pandemonium in the country. I resolved to get in touch with those concerned and encourage him to try to invite the field commander and the chief of staff and possibly the chief of logistics to a very important meeting. Incidentally and luckily, the chief of staff and the chief of logistics attended this meeting, and in the meeting the president invited also the Minister of National Defense, Lieutenant General Daniel Chier. Three-way discussion, two-way discussion between the president, myself, and General Chier, and the chief of operation, General Mohammed, and Brigadier General Ono, who is the logistic commander. The deliberation went on for about an hour and a half, and at the end of this meeting, or during the course of the meeting, it was clearly observed that due to misinformation, we were almost at loggerheads. How did the misinformation occur? Some of the former fighters from various factions and varying factions would go down to ECOMOG and misinform them for whatever reasons, that the government is preparing to launch an attack on the peacekeepers, and they can see that from different alterations and different statements and all that. And some of them go to the extent of specifying date and time and identifying themselves as ex-fighters. Well, a military man, a soldier, is not a politician to go and start a fact-finding thing. Once a military man is informed that he's going to be attacked, what he does is begin to mobilize and galvanize his effort and force and deploy. That was the situation. The peacekeepers started to deploy unknown to the government, started to take precautions, and you could see movement around. These people are not satisfied with that. They go back to the president and other important personnel in the government and tell them, listen, on such and such a date, the peacekeepers are planning to attack to destabilize the government. So you can see how the stories jar. The government believes it because they see ECOMOG deploying without their information or without their knowledge, and they themselves begin to raise concerns and have alterations and things that would enhance the information given to ECOMOG. And these people keep going back to ECOMOG and say, you heard what the president said today, or you heard what the Minister of Information said. It is confirmed. And you know, when you're looking for evil or bad in anything, it's very easy to find it. If you want to read into a statement a negative impression, you can always read that depending on how it is conveyed. We discussed this with the high-ups in ECOMOG, and we only resolved or came to find out that it was due to this type of information. And these same elements are in the society perpetrating these kind of unnecessary propaganda, misinformation that is designed to create chaos and pandemonium. After we realized that from our discussions, it was agreed between ECOMOG, High Command, and the Ministry of National Defense that they will continue their periodic weekly meetings to create understanding and work together jointly.
So what are we now?
I think we are still at that point where ECOMOG and the security forces are meeting, I think, every Wednesday or Thursday, and they're exchanging ideas on how to carry out the operations and cooperate together. That kind of environment creates a very pleasant atmosphere and create a more conducive phenomenon for cooperation. As you know, we are the Liberians are very grateful people. We have always expressed gratitude for people who have assisted us in any way. We are of the impression that there is no reason for individuals, whether they are here or in Nigeria, to begin to feel that the Liberian government does not respect the Nigerian government, or we do not respect the type of sacrifices that was made here. I'm only speaking, I want to be very clear. People might ask, why do you speak on this issue?
That's what I was coming from, because you're not the information minister, you are not the defense minister, you are not the foreign affairs minister. Why you want to talk on issues of security nature than international nature, when indeed you're supposed to be concerning yourself with factories and industries of the National Investment Commission?
That's a very good point, T-Max, and other people may ask that question. For the benefit of those who might ask that question, I will answer you directly. I speak as the Secretary General of the National Patriotic Party, the ruling party. The government is an offspring of our party, and we are the party leaders. We have to speak very strongly for and on behalf of the party that put forward this government, so that people can understand that we have what we call an insurable interest in the smooth operation and the advantages, and we share the disadvantages of the party. As National Secretary General of the party, I have been mandated, and I've just come from outside of the town, from various 4 counties, and I've spoken to my regional coordinators and my county chairman, and they are of the impression that there's such a situation brewing that the party must speak up. You might have 1 or 2 of them coming in to express their views also on the issue, because we have given them the latitude to do that. I have a responsibility to the people of this country and the 750, 760,000 partisans in this country to speak on their behalf and to represent their views at all times. I do not have to wait for the minister to be a minister of information or minister of whatever to speak. I speak in my capacity as the Secretary General of the ruling party, and I have the concern of the government at heart and the concern of a broader spectrum of the people that are not in government and who cannot speak up for themselves. With this authority vested in me by the officials and members of the party throughout the country, it is incumbent upon me to discuss these issues at length and at any level, whether international or local. I speak on behalf of the party that is the parent of the government, and we want to make it very clear that irrespective of what is prevailing in the country, we want it to be made very clear that this government is by no means a weak government. The party is by no means a dormant party. We are in full support throughout the country of the government, and we will represent those things that the government would support. This government will not stand any kind of intimidations or threats from any groups of individuals, whether foreign or local, and we are not going to submit this government to any type of threats and intimidation. We want to make that clear.
Okay.
We speak as leaders of the national ruling party.
What role would you expect ECOMOG to play in Liberia now?
Well, the role that ECOMOG is playing right now, take for example, ECOMOG is the Chief of Logistics and the High Command, the DFC-1, are in constant, continuous contact with the Minister of National Defense, and they work along with the Director of Police and other security agencies. They are doing that on a weekly basis, briefing each other on areas of problem, briefing each other on the concern of the border areas and areas that might be susceptible to any kind of unnecessary overflow from the Sierra Leonean issue or within our borders. The incident yesterday, as you know, when there was a misunderstanding and misinformation also, and people started running all over the town, I was lucky to be in the presence of the Minister of Defense, and what he did was to call on the Chief of Staff, and they met at a certain location in central Monrovia and commenced their deployment and tried to put the situation under control.
Now, there's another thing that's happening. If you listen to the lawmakers, they're not more or less pleased with the way things are going with ECOMOG in the country, and they are saying that ECOMOG should not be doing what they're doing. In the same vein, when something sparks up, something undesirable sparks up, we go to ECOMOG. Doesn't that show as a paradox to our own intention what role ECOMOG should play?
Well, no, ECOMOG role is very clear. ECOMOG is more like now a capacity building unit, and that is the role that we expect ECOMOG to continue to play. We do not have any disagreement, personal disagreement. As you know, the government of Liberia and the government of Nigeria have very good relationship. You see, President Abacha and President Taylor are personal friends. That, you know, will brew certain misunderstanding among certain individual military elements in the Nigerian government who might want to try to keep this relationship at on the rocks, because it is conducive for them to do that. But we see that we want to keep ECOMOG and Liberia, as we have said, to maintain a very cordial relationship. They should know that we've been through a civil war for 7 years. You can understand that the new ECOMOG field commander was not here during the war, and maybe he does not understand basically the rudiments of how people what people went through, and what people are about to accept, and what people are not about not to accept in this country. It has to be made clear. Our government is a duly elected government. We are not going to encourage any type of challenges or disrespect or disinformation to our government, just as well as we are not going to encourage any groups or individuals or any government officials to disrespect the mandate or the authority of ECOMOG as we see fit. The government have welcomed ECOMOG. We continue to welcome them. We want to work very cordially with them. But under the same breath, this government is by no means a weak government, and we are not going to submit ourselves to any types of threat or intimidation from anyone for that matter, be it ECOMOG or any foreign group.
Okay, we'll get back to you. Call us. Our telephone number is 226463, and please, you got only 1 minute to pose your question or your concern. 1 minute to pose your question so that you can have some people the time to participate on the program. We're going back to the line to talk to our first caller. Hello?
Yeah, hello.
What's your name, please, and where are you calling from?
I'm Ute Tawe, calling from Broad Street. Yeah, I just want to commend Mr. Allen, for the concern. Having said that, I would just want to say that since he's starting from the party level, we will also want him to play the role where, this whole tension that is trying to build up can be reduced. Because the more we build tension, the more things become bad for us. I agree with him when he said that the party covers a larger spectrum of the Liberian population. So with that, I'm sure he's taking into consideration the people. And because when these things happen, it's the people that suffer. So I hope he can continue to play that role where the people will be paramount in whatever that is done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, young man. Well, thank you. I'm very pleased with your comments. I really expected a question, but it is in form of a question. You know that we represent the will of the people. Above all else is the people as far as the MPP is concerned, and we intend to maintain that. We have noticed in this country that a lot of people come up and stir up a lot of confusion, pandemonium, and when things come to focus, you find out that they are the only ones that actually benefit or survive in these incidents. The poor people are always moving around with their mattresses. They are always intimidated. They are not informed with what happened. And you have people, we call them people that are fairly well off, who are the real creators of this kind of problem. I don't want to be personal, but let me come a little bit to the press. We have to, I'm not crying the press down, but people have to learn to be patriotic. There would never be any country in Africa, or the world for that matter, that would permit or publish or encourage any individuals or groups within their country to challenge their duly elected government. The newspapers and people use this thing as fun. They use it as a means of generating money or sensational headlining, but these things are very unbecoming. For a journalist in this country to publish on the front page of his newspaper a threat to the national government, that a duly elected government, to put the photograph of the president and the field commander on the front page as though they are at loggerheads, these kind of misinformation and misrepresentation should cease, because the people who publish these things and who propagate these kind of things, be them government or press or journalists or whatever, they are not the ones that suffer when there's a misunderstanding and when there's chaos. We represent the will and the interests of the people of this country, and we are asking our leaders and our journalists, our friends, our partners in progress, and those people who thrive on discord and disputes, to try to remember the interests of the poor people, the children, the women who are always carrying their mattresses. 2 days ago or yesterday, people were running. Nobody was informed about what is happening. Those people who consider themselves as well off in society are sitting very complacently or very comfortably in their homes, and the poor people, poor citizens are running. We should stop these kind of things. We should stop brewing discord between our peacekeepers and the government. We have no misunderstanding. We are in constant, continuous touch with the officials of the Nigerian government. I'm one of those who have attended more than 36 different peace conferences, and I have been very instrumental in maintaining a cordial relationship between our government and the Nigerian government itself, because I've been playing a pivotal role in speaking to some of these officials from the Nigerian government that we know on an individual basis when we have these issues, to try to have a common understanding.
I think we've been having good understanding with the Nigerian embassy, the Nigerian people, except when we came to this business of restructuring the army. That's what poured the mud in the water, and then we seem to be having exchange of words of war as compared to jaw.
Well, thank you very much. But you see, we have to understand this. Every good thing must come to an end.
So the good thing they've done has come to an end.
The good. I mean, the ecomog has succeeded in maintaining peace in arriving at peace, and their duty also is to assist the government in maintaining this peace. They have done a very good job, and the president always say that. We always mention that at the party level and at the government level. But they should understand one thing: that our country is a country of laws. You see, when we came to Monrovia in 1995, you could see very clearly certain things had been permitted to happen in Monrovia because of canned help, what we call it. The government, the IGNU government, was not strong enough to protect, to make sure that the rights of the citizens in this town were protected against the peacekeepers, because we witnessed women being beaten at the checkpoints, people being brutalized, people being arrested, people entering people's homes at night with arms and taking their properties, ship leaving Liberia with people's properties and ice boxes and used cars. People's cars are dismantled at night, and all these things. We swore to put an end to that. We informed the people of this country that our motive or mission in Monrovia is, one, to acquire peace, and two, to make sure that our citizens are not being manhandled or abused by our friends who came here to keep the peace. It was serious. The national anthem of this country played, and the field commander made a pronouncement. It's not the case anymore. We have to understand that. We have gone through an election. This government is not going to sit here and expect a general from Ghana or Nigeria or Sierra Leone or anywhere in the world to come here and remote control our government. It is unacceptable. But our people elected this government through a very popular mandate. We have a responsibility to protect and defend the sovereignty and dignity of the people of this country, and to provide security for the people. In doing that, we welcome the idea of working along with the peacekeepers, working along with ECOMOG very, very successfully. We can achieve that. We have personal relationships. We have national government relationships. These relationships must be respected. The peacekeeper must realize that there is a government, a duly elected government, recognized by international communities and foreign governments, that is in place. What if we are not going to tolerate?
What if I would ask you, ECOMOG has stayed here for 7 years. Maybe ECOMOG has done the best they can do, except we reach to this level of the breach where we can more or less find it difficult to coexist. If I were to ask you, what time limit will you get ECOMOG to get out of Liberia, what would you say?
Well, it's not my duty to decide or give a time, but I think a reasonable time period of a year to 6 months to a year is a reasonable time period to build up the type of confidence that we need. The issue only come up when people feel that the Liberians are ingrates, and we are not ingrates, but our process is a unique one. We have come from a civil war to a duly elected, a duly constitutional government. It is not acceptable anymore for people to think that it is business as usual, that there will be usual pronouncements. In fact, I am of the opinion that the field commander himself, all due respect to him, cannot come on the national radio or on the national television and make a pronouncement like enough is enough and the government should do this and they're threatening. No. Nigerians know very clearly that nobody enters Nigeria. Nobody can enter the country without going through the immigration and the proper procedure. It is unacceptable in Nigeria. We, even officials of government with diplomatic status, we get to Nigeria, even if we're invited, we still have to go through the immigration procedure. Our passports are left with immigration, and they check these passports and stamp in them. We are not going to permit any group of people, for that matter, not only Nigerians, we are not going to allow any group of people to enter our country without going through the proper immigration procedure. It is unacceptable. There is a country of laws. Once people learn to respect our laws, we will respect individuals. We are not encouraging our security forces to go out and manhandle or beat up on people. It's unacceptable also. We represent the people of this country and foreigners alike. Our government is not going to be known as a government that has to use force to achieve anything. We are in a position to use peaceful negotiation, discussions, exchange of ideas to accomplish any major objective. It must be seen that we are a sovereign country, whatever is done. Look at the other day, you read on the internet, some people in Nigeria, the security authorities went to a hotel and picked up about 12 people, locked them up, and so many people like that. I mean, it happens that so often in Africa and other countries where people go and people are missing, no one can identify the families, cannot even reach them. It happened. It happened to some of us while we're in exile in Nigeria and other places.
And so they happened on Cambridge Street the other day when people went and pick up the guys from the hotel.
Well, we're not justifying that. You see, what I'm saying is this. I'm trying to say very clearly to the people of this country that we are of the impression, and it is a fact, that there is a duly constituted government in this country. Okay, and there are laws and there are rules and regulations governing the constraints, protecting the constraints that govern human conduct and the operation of government. People should not forget that. As much as we respect people, we want people to also respect the existence of our government. And when people begin to adopt a carefree attitude that there is not in fact a government, that this is business as usual, in 1995 we used to do this, in 1994 it used to be done, we have to change and work in conformity with the challenges of changing times. Times are changing, and everyone that operates and works with our government will be naive if they do not admit that times are in fact changing, and they have to work in conformity with those changes.
Okay, we're taking our first break, and we'll be back on DC Talk on DC 101.1 FM. Thank you, Dr. Johnson. We're back on DC Talk on DC 101.1 FM. Today, our studio guest is Mr. Cyril Allen. He's the chairman of the National Investment Commission and Secretary General of the ruling National Patriotic Party. We're discussing ECOMOG's role in Liberia, the industry and factories operating in Liberia, and the creation of the strong, vibrant Liberian middle class. To participate in the program, please call 226463. And please remember that we got 1 minute to ask your question or 1 minute to give your concern. We got to give some people some more time to talk. So we went straight back to the line. Hello?
Hello?
Hello, what's your name? Yes. Where are you calling from, please?
Yes, I'm Tia Doma. I'm calling from Bourgeois Island. My first concern is that Chief Allen, I don't know where he got his title from, whether he's a Nigerian. Perhaps you need to clarify that. He is supposed to be the Secretary General of NPP. I don't know in which whether he is clothed with the authority to speak on security matters. And from what I was hearing from him, there were a lot of contradictions. He's saying that we are in good relationship with ecomog, and he continued to say other things that you know, if an ecomog saw here, that he will not be happy at all. So what I want him to tell us is, what is the actual situation on Ken Johnson Road? What actually went wrong there?
Okay, thank you very much, Doma.
Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, my dear friend. You mentioned three things. You want me to clarify the reason why I'm referred to as chief. Yes, I have been giving a traditional title in Nigeria. As you know, I lived in Nigeria for a number of years during my exile period, 4 years, and as you know, I also have some Nigerian background, and that is true also. I took a traditional title in Nigeria as a consequence of my establishment of an industry in Nigeria. So I was given an honorary title, so I'm referred to as chief. That does not make me any different from you. It's just an honorary traditional title.
That doesn't even make you a Nigerian, do you?
That does not make me a Nigerian. I'm born and bred and born and raised in Harrisburg, Monrovia County, as you all know, from birth. And we continue to play the role that we play. We use whatever contacts, and as you know, as boys also, we had an exchange program in the 60s between Liberia and Nigeria, which 14 Liberians benefited attending a very private school in Nigeria, and we stayed there for about 5 years. So we still have friends in very high places in Nigeria, both in the government and in the private sector. We are not having any major contradictions here, my dear friend. We are saying very clearly that that the government officially, and you know that too, the government does have a very positive relationship with the Nigerian government. We are not in the position of character smearing, but we have to be sure that we protect and defend the dignity and sovereignty of this country. You are Liberian. We are very proud, very sustainable, and very, very, very progressive people. And we want to join the community of nations, and we cannot join the community of nations when our government will be dictated to by whoever. And we're not referring particularly to the ECOMOG unit. I mean, as you know, some governments are being remote controlled from outside, from here, from Europe and America and other places. We are saying very clearly that our government, we do not want our government to be characterized by that. We do not want our government to be an imperialist relay station or a neo-colonialist state that is being manipulated from outside by any group whatsoever. We are not particularly talking about the peacekeepers. Just that people have asked the questions, and the DC Talk have put that as part of the subject. We must discuss that. We are clothed with the authority to discuss that issue as National Secretary General of the party, and you can refer to whoever you want to with respect to that. Thirdly, you ask what is the situation on Camp Johnson Road. My dear brother, I tell you, I think the Minister of Defense is going to be giving you a briefing of the Minister of Justice. From my little understanding, it is the fact that we have to explain this to you. I would have to just give out a warning. My warning will be clear to the security forces in this country, to make sure that they respect the rights of citizens wherever they are. Security units that are armed or whether they are not armed, but as long as they are security units, they have to understand that the government is under oath to defend and protect the dignity and sovereignty of this country and to maintain the rights of our citizens. You have to understand that you cannot just go out in the street as security personnel and do anything to anybody. Liberians' eyes are wide open and people are not prepared to accept anything. On the other hand, I will also advise individuals to get out of the habit of trying to fractionalize our government or fractionalize our country. Election is over. We have had an elections and everyone is in support and form part of this government. The issue of certain individuals who are supportive of Honorable Johnson, that's Roosevelt Johnson, who are in the habit of trying to create an impression that they are being they are being pursued, or that they are being attacked, or something of the sort. The government has no interest in harassing or molesting Honorable Johnson. Honorable Johnson is a cabinet minister.
But this has been going almost on a weekly basis now.
Well, I don't know. You see, I don't want to preempt to say anything, because I'm not in the, like you say, I don't form part of the security apparatus. But what I'm saying is, I can only speak out to Liberians in one accord of peace, to say, let us stop picking fuss and let us stop intimidating. There's no reason for you to intimidate me. There's no reason for me to intimidate you. We are all, as factions, we are all a defeated group of people. We have all been defeated by a duly constituted election, constitutional election. We all form a part of the government. We should stop creating an impression that we are not part of this, or that this government is looking for us, or this government wants to harm us. The president said very clearly in the cabinet meeting yesterday, the government does not benefit anyway from anything to try to antagonize one of its ministers. We have to keep the government as a wholesome functioning body. Some of these problems you see coming up, my brother, are coming up because of idleness. Most of our boys are idle. That's why you see we're going to our next subject of this creation of a Liberian middle class, creation of these industries that we have been talking about for the last 6 months, to make sure that we create additional jobs. We need to make sure that we get our brothers and sisters in other fractions, especially most of the guys hanging around Camp Johnson Road and other places. We have to get them into the security unit. They have to go in for training if they are qualified security. We have programs coming up. There's $3 million allocated by the Taiwanese for the rehabilitation of the ex-combatants and things like those. Most of the ex-combatants can have a chance to really participate in the government, one way or another, by working or by being trained and being effectively utilized in the security unit. You see, when you see your brother dressed in a police uniform or SSS uniform or immigration, then you have more confidence that he's a part of you and you are a part of the government. So we have to create an atmosphere, and I think the Justice Minister and others have been mandated by the Cabinet and government to try as much as possible to submit the names, and they have asked other former faction leaders on the Cabinet to try to submit a list of their personnel who are idle so that they can be incorporated in one form or another and utilized under the ex-combatant program that funds have been provided for. This is the way to curb this thing, because people are being idle, and idle minds the devil's workshop. You find out that these things are happening, and then the part about it is that the poor civilians are the ones. They are not running. Those people who are creating this misunderstanding and confusion are not the ones running. The poor mothers and children and civilians are the ones that are uncertain about what is happening, and we want to make it clear to the people of this country there's nothing major that is happening. ECOMOG will confirm that to you, and the security unit will confirm that to you, and I, by this medium, is confirming to you that there's nothing of any major substance that's going on. There could be some misunderstanding brewing, but I'm certain that this will be put under control as soon as possible, because every time you hear something happening, in the next few minutes you hear, oh, nothing is happening, it's under control. That goes to prove to you, my dear brother, that there's actually nothing major happening. There is a misunderstanding between some young men who maybe are antagonizing themselves, or one group is not happy with the other group, trying to dominate them by carrying arms, and another group is saying, well, these people are carrying arms, they are looking for us. And that is not the case, gentlemen. I want to make it clear to our security units. Please stop intimidating your brothers, because you are favored to be in the security unit now and you have arms. And also, our dear brothers, please stop threatening your brother simply because you think that he's after you, because there's no official pronouncement by the government to go after anyone. If that is done, you will know the leader of this country. If he's after someone, he will tell you clearly, I'm after this person, and I don't think anybody is going to escape that. But we want to make it clear that basically, my brothers and sisters in Radio Land, all these surprises and uncertainties are just due to idleness among our people, and we as a government have to do all we can now to create an enabling environment for our people to live in, because it's incumbent upon the government to do that.
Okay, let's go back to the line to talk to our caller. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah?
Hi, how are you?
What's your name and where are you calling from?
David Collins, Congo Town.
Yeah, David, please be brief. You got 1 minute to do that.
Sure. Cyril, I'm very disappointed in you. I understand the other day you couldn't go into your office because you didn't have electricity. Now, the NPFL government has been in power for I don't know how many months. We don't have electricity, there's no safe drinking water. And yet you call yourself chairman of the National Investment Commission. I think what you should remember is that we have been patient for some time, for 7 years now. We have an opportunity to make a difference. We are watching carefully, and we're not stupid as a nation and as a people. I want you to understand that. Keep on your work, okay? See you.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I don't expect any Liberians to be disappointed in me as a professional and as a young man who have done very well for myself and my country. It's unfortunate that you are disappointed, but it is you have your own choice, you have your own decision to make. But as you know, you said rightly, the government has been in place for nearly 8 months now, and you claim, and all the citizens know, that they have a problem still with electricity and safe drinking water. It is a priority of the government to provide these things, but as you know, my dear brother, you cannot blame this government particularly for 7 years civil war. You blame all Liberians for their contribution one way or another in creating war, and you are no exception to that. I'm certain that you played your part in your weak way of contributing to how our war erupted over the last few years. But be that as it may, please understand that all efforts are being made, and the government is making effort to try to get electricity and safe drinking water. You know, all our pipelines have been damaged, our hydro plant has been damaged, our gas turbines have been damaged and looted, And those are some of the reasons why. NIC is not directly responsible for light and water, but we are making all efforts wherever we sit, in whatever meetings, we make it clear that the government have a responsibility to provide these things for the people. And with time, my dear brother, I'm certain that all these things would be made available for the betterment of our people and our society.
Okay, so you call us, I want you to deal with the issue that we have on our hand to discuss. I don't want people to go into personality. Let's deal with the issues of ecomog, the issue of factory and industry. Now, today, the second topic we're going to discuss is factory. Alan is being clothed with the responsibility of breaking factories in Liberia and to monitor the growth and development of those factories. A lot of factories that have mushroom over the past few months, and we are beginning to feel the pinch of those factories. So, Mr. Allen, what is the progress report, a brief progress report of the factories that have been mushroomed into the country after elections, the Eurisco thing, the extinguisher people, all the factories that you've helped to bring to this country? What is the progress report as regards benefits for the public?
Well, thank you very much. As you know, we have propounded to the people of this country on our national platform that one of the cardinal priorities of this government is to create employment by way of creating industries and providing jobs to process our raw material into finished and semi-finished products. We have been working assiduously on this line, and anyone can take me up on this particular line, because that is my line, not electricity and water. But be that as it may, it's one wholesome functioning government, and we have a responsibility to make sure that these things are also done. Well, we have been responsible for the institution of two main lines so far. Then we are also working out details with respect to opening other industries. As you know, we had before the war, we had a plastic gloves factory here that was owned by St. Joseph Construction, and they were making surgical gloves using latex. We have entered into a memorandum of understanding with them to relocate the industry in Magibi County, the rubber belt, so that we can commence the processing and fabrication of surgical gloves from our latex. We have also entered into agreements. As you know, some of these industrial lines are quite expensive and extensive. It takes some time to have them fabricated to suit our tropical needs and whatnot. So those are still on the assembly line, but we have bills of lading for the first 4 forms of industries that we have paid for. That is the plastic line and the waste processing line, not chemical waste, but natural waste to be able to reprocess and to have a plastic recycling plant. Those are expected to arrive here on the 17th. We have received the bills of lading and the advice of them coming in. So we intend to proceed to establish these, to mount these factories by the end of April, so that we can create an additional 2,850 jobs for our citizens, maybe a little more than that. Basically, that's what we have done. We are also reviewing most of the contract. We have approved in principle the existence of the brewery contract. We have reviewed that under the new government. We have reviewed the Semenco issue, and we have arrived at a point where we are going to give additional dispensation to them to bring down the price of cement by the 15th of April to another to $4.80, hopefully, maximum $5.
Would you agree if somebody wants to go into the cement thing?
Yes, the government have announced very clearly that the cement market, the rice market, and other markets are open to Liberians to import. Certain percentages of the market are provided. We have called on Liberians up until now. You know, we've been announcing this for the last 2 months. Most people have expressed interest. They have come in and said that they have placed their orders. But we have not received any bills of lading advising us on the arrival of any of these commodities from the Liberian side. But we have the impression that people are galvanizing their strength and their effort and putting their finances together to be able to meet up with the challenges of changing times. On the industrial line, as you know, we are doing our very best. We cannot bring in these things ourselves. The government is not buying them themselves. Individuals are bringing in their plants. We are giving them the type of incentives and facilities they need to establish these plants. We have provided land areas for them, and we have also identified an array of Liberians that are going to work in these industrial lines. So we have a whole list of almost 6,000 to 7,000 people who have been putting forward their names to participate in this program. So we are gaining momentum, and we are reviewing those already existing contracts with the aim of giving the type of incentives that we need to open them up. It is in progress, my dear brother.
Another thing of concern is this URISCO thing. It came out of fire on DC Talk on last Friday. People said that it was to conform to the concept the president made in Liberia, but there are reports, realistic and authentic report, that this thing is not made in Liberia, it's made somewhere in central Liberia. You're in charge of investment. Have you started the duplication of this to have the nomenclature that is made in Liberia when in fact it's not made in Liberia?
Well, yes, we are very clear on the fact that this is more like a procedure of assembled in Liberia, basically, because most of the materials for this, for the construction and the fabrication of the fire extinguisher are already material that are fabricated, but they are fabricated in various forms, and they are basically assembled here for us. And I've just queried the executive director of that corporation yesterday, because I was not too happy with the pricing of these items, and there should be no compulsion in people buying these things simply because they are made in Liberia. We have checked on the price and have asked them to make sure that their price conforms to the type of status that they have. We've written them a formal letter on that. We don't have a major problem with them, but we have the impression that something that is granted the type of incentive should be much cheaper for our citizens to be able to afford. It must be affordable to our people. That's the whole concept. If anything is fabricated in Liberia and does not appeal to the type of pricing and is affordable to the majority of our people, I would not hesitate to make sure that that industry, whatever it is not functional in this country, because we expect that our people should afford these things if they are being fabricated here rather than if they were imported. But as I said, we don't have a major problem with this industry. We encourage them to continue to do what they are doing, so that from step one, like you said in your introduction, a baby has to walk before it crawls. It has to stand up before it begins to walk. And we are going through it step by step. We are only 8 months old, like someone said earlier, and we think that most of these things will come to head as quickly as possible. We are working seriously on them, and we have never been associated with failures.
I think the utilization of these projects that are coming to Liberia industries, if you will, is to be able to alleviate Liberia of this economic chunk we got on our backs. So one would think that you open the market to as many competitors as possible. That would, in a sense, induce the reduction of prices instead of giving people monopoly. The issue of URISCO will be a case study.
Well, thank you very much. I told you, and I've said in several of my interviews, our country is a free enterprise system. And I'm one of those that is vehemently opposed to any form of monopoly. Mind you, I've been a businessman for the last 25 years, and I've been in the private sector. I know the dangers of monopoly. The monopoly leads to high prices and substandard products. So in my capacity as chairman of NIC, I am ensuring that we do not grant monopolies to any individuals or group. The maximum we can come to any form of that is a form of oligopoly. I mentioned that before. Oligopoly is an economic concept that has to do with the control of price and the constant availability of products, where you have one or a few groups of people controlling the price to make sure that it does not exceed a certain amount, like as in the case of the rice. You see, we don't do that to give anybody an extraordinary facility, but we do that because of we call these some of these things are strategic national strategic national interest, and it will be naive if the government does not secure the availability of supply and at a constant price of some of these commodities. So we can only encourage people to continue, and we have laws in this country. Anyone, any investor or industrialist who violates the laws of this country as it applies to the NIC, well, I mean, you will hear it. I mean, I'm in there for that reason. We will not sit here and permit anyone to come and dominate our national market or come and make a claim on our market and start supplying very high prices to our people and substandard products. That's going to make our government very unpopular, and we have no intentions to do that.
There's another problem with this new company called Galaxy. What is the arrangement between Galaxy and the government on one hand and Galaxy and LPRC on the other hand? Because the concern is that of late, the involvement of Galaxy has jump-started the prices of gasoline, and people have become very inconvenient. So, from your standpoint as chairman of NIC, what is the creation of Galaxy? What is it about? What do we stand as a country to benefit in terms of pricing of gasoline?
Well, thank you very much. I am, as you know, I served 3 years at the LPRC. I am no more its managing director. Honorable Louis Brown, I think, have explained this to the public, but I would just throw very little light on this, and I'll be very brief. As you know, continuously during the interim governments, we said that one of the cardinal objectives of a new direction in this country is that all government functions and functionaries would try to perform their legislative mandate. The arrangement between LPRC and Galaxy, it is a clear indication of LPRC using its good offices to try to fulfill its legislative mandate. The situation is of such that the government, as you know, did not have the type of funding to keep this market going, and so that the LPRC entered into an agreement and understanding with an Ivorian-based company called Galaxy, who has equity in the Ivorian refinery. The Ivorian government gave to Liberia 30,000 metric tons of product on a monthly basis to facilitate the need of our market. Our government had to, LPRC particularly, had to raise the type of guarantees they needed to continuously lift this consignment on a three-year basis, monthly for 3 years. It was only wise for LPRC to look for an international financier or a team up with a group that is strong enough financially to provide the kind of funding they needed to implement this facility. And that is, I think, that is what I basically know about the relationship between LPRC and Galaxy. With respect to the pricing of gasoline, as you all know, and we have to be realistic and objective. Back in 1982-83, the government had a surcharge of $1.70 United States on the price of gasoline. This government have only instituted a surcharge of 25 cents, and people are yelling. The price of gasoline in Liberia is still the cheapest all in Africa. There's no country in Africa except for Nigeria that sells gasoline less than what we sell it in Liberia, under $2. Also, the fact that the government is our economy is a tax-oriented economy. The government is an extra tax imposed of 25 cents, I think, on every gallon of gasoline. This fund, according to the government, comes up to approximately $600,000 a month on the average, depending on the volume of sale in the petroleum market. The consignment, the amount of money is going to be is designed to be directed to the construction and improvement of roads. Our people are asking us to build roads, the rehabilitation of hospitals and schools. Our people are insisting that the hospitals and schools be rehabilitated so that students can get into school. You see the idleness among our citizens and all that. You see bad hospitals and people are not getting proper treatment. Our people are dying from that. The government is under enormous pressure to open up these facilities very quickly. And so what the government had decided is, listen, we have to, now that we have a constant supply and we are sure of a 3-year definite supply, a revolving letter of credit, and that there will be no problem with the supply of petroleum, we can nip in a minimum amount to try to generate additional funds to cover our Medicare, education, and to improve the surface of our road and to grade those roads that are in deplorable condition. So that anytime there's an amount of money that is. So
anytime there's any need to improve social services, the price of gasoline will go up again.
No, I said that the government have considered tentatively to put a 25% surcharge on the price of gasoline to be able to generate funds to allocate to other priority projects. Now, it doesn't mean that it is going to be that it is a constant practice of government, but you have to understand also that we may cry about this. I'm not one of those that was very supportive of this idea, but I'm part of the government, and if there's an action taken by government, it's our responsibility to be able to derive methods and means to be able to defend it, so that and educate our people to understand that. Some people believe that it's just an arbitrary increase and that the price of gas is high. We agree it is comparatively high, but take 1982, 83, 84. Gasoline was $3 and $2.50 and $3 in this country.
1982, 83, 84, government is out.
Well, we understand that. We understand that, but the government is still entitled to its surcharges on essential commodities to be able to allocate funds to other areas of priority. We understand that some people will not understand this, but we have to educate. It is the responsibility of you, the journalists, we the government officials and officials of various groups and whatnot to let our people understand. Gasoline is still cheaper than Ivory Coast, our neighbors, still cheaper than Guinea, still cheaper than any African country you can talk about except for Nigeria, who's a major producer. And we do not produce oil here. The government cannot continue to take money and subsidize a product eat up into the government revenue funds that could be used for other things. Because if the government begin to sell gasoline at a lesser price, the government will have to subsidize. As you know, our government for 20 years in this country subsidized the price of gasoline. That's why the LPRC looks as it looks, and that's why other areas in government are in the fiscal position they are, because our government does not have the economic capacity to continue to subsidize petroleum products in this country. So they have to make sure that we have some taxes on it.
Okay, let's go back to the line to talk to Emmanuel. Good morning, Emmanuel. Hello?
Hello?
Good morning, Emmanuel.
I'm not getting you.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from my office on the island.
Go ahead with your concerns, please.
Good morning, Chief. I would like for you to elaborate a bit on the monopoly that was given to Patriotic, because we are seeing that the monopoly is grabbing us small. Right now on the market there's a scarcity of variety of rice, and only one person has rice on the market, which is Patriotic, the butter rice. And 2 days ago, he has increased the price. Now that we were talking about buying rice, $7.15, $800 is now $900. And we are the suffering masses. I mean, this burden go on us. You see, so I want for him to elaborate. He tell me as oligopoly. I don't know what's the difference between the monopoly, the 75%, and oligopoly.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, my dear brother, for this important question. I think this is my third time discussing this issue at the press level. My dear brother, the difference between monopoly and oligopoly is quite clear, and I explained it earlier. I'm sorry, maybe you weren't listening. Monopoly is when someone have an absolute control of 100% of a particular commodity in the market or a particular line of trade or service. And oligopoly is an economic form that provides a certain percentage. An oligopoly could be 30%, it could be 15%, it could be 5% of a particular commodity in the market that is allocated to an able form of business to be able to maintain a constant supply of that product on the market at a stable price. Now, I agree with you 100% that there have been some slight increase in these commodities for reason maybe of international scarcity or local scarcity. I do not know. I'm just hearing that from you. But what I'm saying clearly is that never have the government of Liberia said that people are not permitted to import rice into this country. It is the fact that most people cannot get rice into this country at the price that Bridgeway is providing it because of volume. Bridgeway imports huge volume and they bring them in on a VLCC basis, a very large cargo carrier. That means they get some reduction in the freight, and that is the biggest advantage in the purchase. You can buy rice for $10 somewhere, but the freight to bring, the ocean freight to bring rice from one nation to another, like from outside to Liberia, is enormous. And if you are bringing in a small consignment, the price is inevitably going to be higher than what a larger importer, larger volume attract. So that is what you are seeing. But I think the Minister of Commerce have addressed this issue, and I think he will be reporting to you very soon on what solution he have derived. I think he briefed the cabinet on what he did with respect to that, and he will be coming to the public. It's not my prerogative to explain or to give details of that, but as a matter of fact, this issue has been addressed, and I'm certain that franchise have been granted to other individuals to participate in the market more actively and to allay their fears. They have been, I'm sure the market has been a little bit relaxed to be able to encourage those people who have definite lines. People keep saying we can bring rice. Don't listen to that, my dear brother. Some of them, when you give them a document now, they will carry it and vacillate all around the world for another 6 months. If you depend on them, when you look, the whole market will be strangulated and there will be scarcity. Any Liberian or foreigner in our country who has the capacity to import rice can proceed with that and to contact the Ministry of Commerce, and you will not be denied.
Okay, let's go back to the line again to talk to one of our callers.
Good morning.
Hello, what's your name and where you calling from, please? Hello?
Yeah, good morning.
Yeah, what's your name and where you calling from? What is your name and where you calling from, please?
Oh, I'm Anthony Morris. I'm calling from Town. Good morning.
Good morning, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I'd like to speak to Mr. Allen personally.
Yeah, go ahead, I'm here.
Go ahead.
I listened to your statement on our relationship with ECOMOG, and the average Liberian actually can discern, your personal interest.
Hello? Hello?
From that of the interest of the general, the Liberian general.
Hello?
Liberians in general.
Hello?
I'd like to say, why don't you spend your precious time explaining to the public issues such as the failure of this bogus company called Amalia, which was widely hailed by you and your compatriots in government in the initial stages. And secondly, I think you should be trying to explain why all those fine promises of yours at your incumbency as chairman of the National Investment Commission have not come to fruition. For example, you are on record for telling the nation in January of this year that by February, several factories would have been established as a means of providing jobs for thousands of Liberians. I think, Mr. Allen, this is what you should be addressing instead of talking about military issues that don't concern us at all. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You will feel bad if you ask a question like you have asked and I don't answer it. You might feel bad as a citizen and feel that I do not want to cooperate. I'm only responding to those questions that I ask, and it is my duty to do that and to inform the people of this country what they want to know if they ask me and I have knowledge of it. I'm not one of those people who have knowledge of anything and hide it or conceal it. Now let's get back to the promises you talk about. That's the same thing we have been addressing. Maybe you haven't been paying attention. We have said very clearly that these things do not work by miracle. As you know, we concluded the arrangements on these on the supply of these industries in November, and it's only the end of March now. It takes time, my dear brother, to fabricate these factories and get them. It takes 60 days to ship them alone. So you have to understand that also, that the shipment time and it takes some time also to raise the type of guarantees. We had to do the funding for them and everything, and they have to be shipped also. And people have to be trained to be able to operate them. You also did not ask about the training program, as some Liberians are already in training how to man these machines and things. So we are making progress, my brother. No one man plans and God changes those plans, but we have all intentions of continuing our program. We have luckily received the bill of lading for the shipment, and we have opened the necessary letters of credit for the arrival of these industries into the country. We can only do as much as we can. We do not make these plans ourselves. They are something that we're buying for some people. There can be delays in these processes, but those promises, I assure you, this government does not make two things: empty threats and empty promises. And you'll find out that whatever we propose, we will try as much as possible to do. We told you that those initial factories are raw material imported oriented, and the next phase of that by the middle of this year will be raw material local raw material oriented. So we have two phases, and we are working on that, my brother. We have not let you down. We've done that only a few months ago. We'll continue to do what we are doing. We have detractors and people who do not want to see these things happen, because they are always associated with failure, and if the situation is in chaos, they survive better. For some of us, we need an enabling environment, and we will endeavor to create jobs for Liberians and make sure that we transform our natural resources into semi-finished product. We are continuing on those lines, and nothing is going to deter us except the fact that the government don't have the funding. But we are making efforts also to get private funding and external funding and joint ventures and all that to ensure that we implement these things. Thank you.